Oh, hello, hello, hello. So today I'll be doing today is going to be a little bit of a different video. I'll be talking about what we'll do on the stream from this point onwards, as we've completed our first streaming series, which was the tower defense series. Now, we will be working on several projects at a time now. For those who haven't been up to, this is the tower defense project, which can be found at this URL here. Uh, and if you want to download the entire project, again, it's available here. And if you're just looking for the code, then you can check out the GitHub and get all of the project files, because this is only the buildable version here. Now, let's talk about what we are going to do next. So this is how my schedule is going to look like from now on. I'll be doing 3 different projects at the same time from Monday to Friday. I'll, again, only dedicate an hour every day for each project. Mondays and Wednesdays will be dedicated to a first game, which is going to be a very short game. Tuesdays and Thursdays will be another short game. And finally, Fridays will be dedicated to a longer project like the tower defense. The reason why I'm doing this is because the tower defense was extremely long of a series. It took me way longer than expected, especially since I only had limited time to put towards it. And there's a lot of projects I want to do within the next month or two. So I decided to dedicate most of my time towards the short projects, but I still want to put some time towards a bigger, longer project that I really want to focus on. Uh, and that'll be the Friday. Now, this schedule will slightly change as the weeks go on, based on what's finished, what's not, etc. Now, I've already selected the projects, and this is our little project spread. So I'll be making a Mario Live clone, which is going to be the first short project. There's going to be no assets, so it's going to be a 3D, 2D. Well, it's going to be created in Unity 3D, but it's going to be a 2D based Mario classic-like game. It will feature all of the mechanics that were included in Mario. However, there's going to be no asset attachment to it. Now, the second project, a small project, is going to be a puzzle game using Unity's Pathfinding. The core purpose of this specific project is to explore Unity's NavMesh system, how it works, what's good about it, what's bad about it, and then create a puzzle game that focuses on that one specific mechanic. And finally, for a long project, I chose to do a clone of a Pokemon game. I plan to add a lot of my own spin towards this project, uh, but that's something I want to leave for the future. And now let's talk about each project more in depth. So our Mario clone is going to be made using the 3D engine. I'll only use basic geometric objects. There's going to be no animations. I'll only change colors to signify changes in the environment, and every block will have different kind of color so we know what's happening. So what kind of mechanics are we going to see within the project? There's going to be player movement. We'll have the ability to destroy blocks just like in Mario. We'll have various types of enemies and power-ups that will move just like in Mario games. So that's going between left and right and switching if they get close to the edge. There's going to be a simple main menu, so we're not going to go into sound options and whatnot. There's going to be a score system and something that we haven't done in the previous version, which is going to be a top 10 leaderboards that will save onto our computer and update every time we get a new score, getting rid of the older ones. We'll have some kind of a display of health for our main character. Again, the power-ups, we'll have the alternative attack just like in Mario, so when we power up, we'll be able to shoot. And there's going to be few levels that I'll design with a boss fight at the end. The game's going to take roughly about, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes to play from the beginning till the end. Um, I'll try to feature different enemies that have different mechanics. So, like in Mario, you have the mushrooms, you step on them once they die, but when you step on the turtles, they instead turn into their turtle shell form and they just keep spinning quicker to the left and right. Um, so that'll be there. And that's it for the Mario project. That's going to be a quick one. I hope it's going to take between 1 and 2 weeks to complete. So about 4 sessions total, maybe a little bit more. I'll, of course, try to find an extra hour here and there if we're going to get closer to the end of the project. Moving on to the second project. So the second project is going to be based around pathfinding in Unity. Uh, Again, this is going to be used using basic geometric shapes in Unity. Um, some of the mechanics that you can expect, of course, the navigation and pathfinding and click and move system that will allow us to select on a character and make it move within the nav mesh as we intend. This system will work similar to how we selected towers in the tower defense game, but we'll have the additional functionality of moving those objects around to solve our puzzles. So think of it as a, a strategy puzzle games where we can move different units around to solve our simple puzzles. Um, I will expand on the selection system by adding a box selection for this specific object, so be able to multiple drag various characters. Um, I haven't thought about what kind of puzzles we're going to have yet, but this is something I'll think over this week, what kind of puzzles I can make within the game. And finally, the levels I'll design using Pro Builder. So if someone doesn't know how to use a Pro Builder, and I'm not really that good at it, we can explore how to make various levels using that, and I'll at least show the basics of how we can use a Pro Builder. Now, the final project is going to be a Pokemon-like game. So out of these three projects, this will be the only proper 2D project. So it's going to use the 2D version of Unity, although there is no difference between using 3D and 2D. If you use 3D, you can still make a perfectly fine 2D game, although if you use a 2D game, you won't have access to things like vector free and whatnot. But you can change that in your project settings quite easily. So for the content, we will have a character movement for moving between the map. The movement is going to be a 4-directional movement. So that means we can go up, down, left, and right, and we'll have some kind of a sprites that will show that. One more thing that before I actually continue, that I want to add for this project is that this project will feature fully made assets. I'll use free assets available from various sources that are open source, and I'll try to use the fair use for copyright under the learning argument as much as possible, because this is a fun project. I will, of course, change how the Pokemon game works. It's not going to be a complete copy of a Pokemon game. I do have something planned, but I'll leave that secret for the series. So moving on, we'll have movement with animations. We'll have the tall grass mechanics. So where we enter, we have a chance to encounter a enemy that we can then capture and add to our party. We'll, of course, have a battle system, which is going to be based on the typical Pokemon games, although we will expand to different battle modes in the future. So we will start off with a single one-on-one where your character is at the bottom of the screen and the opponent is at the top. But we will also include 2v2s as we go on, etc. We will have a extensive save system. So for this game, we will want to save all of our data, and that means there has to be a save system that works and allows us to save everything. The save system will most likely be the same one as the one in tower defense, but time will tell when we get to that point. As for everything else, we also need, of course, inventory system for our items and our captured characters, and the ability to switch between our active inactive team. Changing abilities, as Pokemon only allows you to have 4 abilities on a character at once. Well, they're called skills actually, and then 1 passive that each character will have based on their unique traits. We'll have some kind of area traveling, so we can move to different areas where we can catch different characters that will join our team. Finally, a simple dialogue system for talking to NPCs, etc., and then much more in the coming week. Like I said, this is going to be a major project, so I expect it to take probably about 2-3 months to complete, and there should be a lot of features to keep for everyone to enjoy. Now, I also have some future ideas that I want to go over. So we'll keep to the schedule of 2 short games from Monday to Thursday, and then a long game on a Friday. And we already have our first set of games selected. However, there's also some other ones that I would like to do after these ones are finished. Now, these are, of course, in no specific order, but it's just things I want to do. So, starting off with our short games, I guess some of the future projects that I would like to do is a Space Invaders like game. For this specific game, I will create my own assets. So, this is going to be a fully made game with my own assets from start to finish. I plan for this game to have multiple modes, such as the classic Space Invaders gameplay, as well as some procedurally generated infinite runner-like levels. I want to do some non-C sharp, non-Unity project. They'll still be C sharp, but not within Unity Engine. Probably something just using Visual Studios. We might do some C++ in the more distant future as well, but for now, I don't extend my planning beyond the use of C sharp. I want to make a Frogger game. I've made Frogger-like games in in the past, but I've never made an exact replica of a Frogger game. So I think it would be a cool thing to do. Now, next, I want to do multiplayer. So multiplayer is something I didn't really touch upon ever. So I would love to make my own multiplayer game. And I think Pong is a great game to make a multiplayer out of because the game itself is very simple. So I can focus on making the multiplayer more than I can focus on making the actual game itself. So I'll make a simple multiplayer game with probably a lobby-like system where 2 players can join and start a game of Pong, essentially. Moving on, an arcade game. So I want to start using different controllers. I have arcade controllers, Xbox controllers. I have a steering wheel, and I think a simple fighter game would be really nice to do. It's different than all of the other projects, and it still has that arcade style as all of the other projects. Well, most of the other projects in here. Now, moving on with the arcade theme, I would love to make a racing game, a very simple racing game, and for this, I do plan to make it so it uses a 2 sets of inputs. One is the, of course, standard keyboard, but the second one is going to be a racing steering wheel with clutch and acceleration control, or at least acceleration for the first project and then moving on later. Of course, we want to have a classical infinite runner somewhere around the roads. And something that would keep me interested is a box head clone game. If no one ever played it, it's basically a box zombie game. What I do like about that specific game is that it draws blood on the ground. Yeah, and it sounds a bit gory, but it's very interesting to program the shader overlay of a blood splashing on the texture. So that's something I want to go into, and making a top-down simple shooting game is always fun to do. And finally, some more card-like games. First, I'll probably start with a simple match a symbol game, and then maybe move to some other card games that could be done in Unity. And that's it that I have planned for short games. Maybe I'll think of something else, and then by the time we finish a game, that'll be what's going to happen. But for now, this is the general idea, and this is what I plan to do. Whereas for the long games, well, I want to make a role play RTS, which stands for real time strategy. So it's a game like Age of Mythology, or something like that. For that specific game, I'll use A star learning pathfinding algorithm to differentiate between the pathfinding puzzle game that we're doing now. So that's going to be a bigger project. I actually done a strategy game which is available on my channel as a showcase, but that one used a different pathfinding. So I want to do something that is something fresh and interesting. Especially since I really like making strategy games. I find them to be really fun to do. Moving on, a next big, larger game that I would like to do is a Minecraft-like game. Um, I don't want to recreate Minecraft. What I'm actually interested in this project is the procedural generation of a seeded world. So that's something that the game would mainly focus on. It's to create the block generated map, as opposed to the actual mechanics of the game itself, although those will be, of course, present as well. An FPS game. So I've never actually made a first-person shooter game, and I was always interested in making one. When you use Unreal, they gave you the FPS controller straight away, but I've never actually tried to do it in Unity from start till the very end. So that sounds like an interesting thing to do, and I would love to try it out. Also, we can delve into the AI, which is something I really like working on. So I'll make my own AI for the enemies, and I'll make my own first-person shooter game, which is a win-win situation for me. And then some kind of a simulation project. I really like simulations, making various simulations. So I was thinking of recreating a simulation of a some kind of a city, how different NPCs travel to work, do their tasks, reproduce, eventually die, etc. Um, and then, of course, try to replicate that simulation using various factors, like what would happen if they get struck by some kind of a disease, or there's no food supply coming in. How will that affect the simulated people inside the simulation? And that is it for my future ideas. So this is it. This is the entire idea from start to finish of what's going to happen between the next week and the upcoming weeks. So to put for perspective, this video is recorded as well as streamed on the 9th of Tuesday, and that means that the first series will start probably on 15th of Monday. However, if I manage to prepare everything by the end of the week, then there is a chance of me starting the long series on Friday. So it's either going to be 12th or 15th that we'll start with the projects. I'll still stream every day. However, I won't stream these projects till next week. So I'll do a simple YouTube like tutorial series on how to do various mechanics. I'm still gonna stream it on Twitch, and then I'll just edit them slightly and upload them to YouTube to keep everything going according to the schedule. But that's it for today. I will try to prepare everything so it's ready by next week. Thanks for watching, and